Hello, welcome to Live Talk for Tuesday, October the 2nd, 2018. I'm Mark Crutcher, your genial host. And lurking on the other side of the table is my assistant, Renee. Hello, Renee.
Yes, hello.
And my daughter, Sheila.
Hi. I almost don't even want to respond to that. Lurking in the shadows.
Y'all are lurking on the other side of the table. That's what I said.
Maybe you're the one lurking on the other side.
No, not really. We got a couple of things we want to talk about the show first. One of the things we're going to be doing starting this week is we're going to be shortening the show up a lot. We get complaints about it being too long. We started out hoping that we could make the show between 15 and 20 minutes long. Our last few shows have been over 40 minutes. And on Facebook nowadays and YouTube, people don't watch.
Short attention spans.
Yes. And what we've noticed on our analytics is that if X number of people start watching the show and it's 40 minutes long, by the end of it,
they have to do things.
They're gone.
Right.
That's true with anything nowadays.
Right. So we're going to be shortening the show up quite a bit starting this week. And the other reason that we want to shorten it up is for the people that receive the show on DVD at the end of the month. Because those shows have been so long, we've only been getting 2 shows per DVD.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we did 5 shows that month, they missed 3 of them.
Yeah.
So by shortening them up, we'll be able to give even the people that receive it on DVD
Yes.
More shows.
Yeah. And hopefully all the shows that we did during that month.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'd like to receive it by DVD, you can let us know, give us a call, and also people put it on their cable access stations, so the
shorter
message,
shows,
even gets out even further.
Right.
So it's pretty cool.
Because if they have usually you have 28-30 blocks.
Yes.
28-minute and 30-second blocks.
Right.
If they've got a 40-minute show, they've got to go in and edit 10 minutes of it out.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people do put the show on cable access in their local community. And by the way, if you're not doing that, that's something you really want to do, because that's a good way to reach the public. And if you have a cable system, if you're served by a cable system, by federal law, they have to allow you to broadcast a show. So they can't stop you from doing that.
It's public access.
It's public access. So if you want to put Live Talk on there, you just take the DVD in and drop it in. But now with the shows being shorter, that'll be a lot easier to do.
It'll help.
All right.
Yes.
And besides, y'all are always complaining, especially Sheila, but I think Renee has the same feeling that I prattle on too long. So, yeah, look at them. They both have the guilty dog look.
Sometimes.
Anyway, there's not a lot trending this week because the
Kavanaugh
hearings.
Yeah.
But let's go to trending and talk about those things. Okay, like I said, there's not much in the news. You're the one who pulls the news every day, and you're just not finding anything.
No, there's not a whole lot out there except for the Kavanaugh and
Right.
the 3 women that have come forward. And
Yeah.
yes,
We all sat around last week and watched the hearings.
yes, we did.
Yeah, I watched the whole hearing on Facebook, so it was interesting to see comments.
It's a disgrace.
It actually made me angry.
Yeah.
It really infuriated me.
A lot of people are commenting how they said, I was watching this earlier, I had to stop, and now I'm watching it again. I got so angry that
It's amazing how the Dems and even some of the Republicans bowed down to her when questioning her,
Right.
but they did the complete opposite when Kavanaugh came out.
They raked him over the coals.
Oh, they did.
And yeah, the Republicans especially were frightened by
Right.
her. And, she was not cross-examined. And they hired this woman from Arizona, Mitchell, to come in because, and literally, this is literally true, the Democrats hired her to come in and question this woman because they didn't have the courage to do it. They were too wimpy to do it. So they hired this woman.
Well, supposedly they did it so a non-bias.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
But, yeah.
They did it because they're wimps. The Republican Party is a collection of weenies.
Right.
And they did this, but they hired somebody that's a prosecutor and not a defense attorney. A defense attorney would have come in there and cross-examined this woman.
Like she should have been.
Like she should have been, and when she tells an out-and-out bald-faced lie, which she got caught at 2 or 3 times, this Mitchell person just let it go.
I know, nobody called her out on it, so she didn't have to explain herself.
Well, it's important to note that even before Kavanaugh gets, nominated or elected, if he does, that they are already saying, the Democrats are already saying that they want to impeach him. And he hasn't even been appointed yet.
Right.
And they're wanting to impeach him.
There's no way, because you have to have the 2/3 Senate vote for that.
Yep.
Anyways, regardless.
And the guy has to have done something.
And he has to have done something. And all of this is political power. That's
Right.
all it is. And the Me Too movement is such a big thing right now. It's just,
If they wanted to impeach somebody, they could have impeached Bill Clinton and Obama.
Right.
So,
Well, the hearings shed absolutely no light on any of this. Her story has got more holes. You could fly a 747 through the holes in her story.
right.
And they're now criticizing him for getting angry. If you're accused of attempted rape, and in some cases rape, if this other woman's come forward saying he's basically the ringleader of this bunch of teenage boys that were putting these parties together, and he was feeding these women, these 15-year-old girls, drugs, so all these boys could line up and rape them, and he was one of them. And she says she went to 9 of these parties, and she's in college, and she goes to these high school parties, and then she quit going because she got raped. This is the biggest crock I've ever heard.
Yeah.
well, and people like Hillary Clinton aides are saying, like, he will not serve for life. Like,
Right.
we want to impeach him, or we're not going to allow him to serve for life.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Well, we need good God-fearing men and women up there, because they
don't have 'em.
are going to make the decisions
Right.
about what goes on in this country, about homosexuality and abortion and
Right.
you name it, things that are just crushing this country.
Right. And
Well, it's like you mentioned, it's a cultural civil war.
that's the point I want to get to here. The Kavanaugh hearings proved one thing beyond a shadow of a doubt. One of them is something we've been saying on here for years, and I've had even some blowback from people on our side of issues. We are in a cultural civil war, and people don't want to hear that, but it's a fact. And it's a war between the godless and the God-fearing,
Well, you
kind of going back to the point that you were just making.
Well, when you look at these videos of these Kavanaugh hearings, you see people in the audience, Democrats and those who are against him. You see the pictures and videos of them screaming their heads off like
Right.
animals. They're acting like
They are animals.
animals.
Well-
and they have to be escorted out. And then his children had to be taken out of the room
Right.
because the way of these people were acting.
Sheila, we love animals here. Don't compare Democrats to animals.
Yeah, exactly. They even went to his church this past Sunday and protested outside of his church.
And like Cruz's family was attacked in a restaurant. They had to leave a restaurant. They were sitting there trying to have a nice meal, and people started
Yeah.
attacking the Cruz family.
Well, the point I want to make about that is what we're seeing is what I call the godless left. And by the way, there used to be people on the left that you could say, well, these are good Christian people that we just happen to disagree with about things. Those people are gone. The left in America now is absolutely under 100% control of these godless degenerates
Yes.
that we're seeing in the Democratic Party. And let me tell you, I've had people say to me, when you say things like this is a civil war, you're suggesting that this thing could erupt into violence. It could.
It could.
It could absolutely erupt into an armed conflict.
Right.
And people say, well, we can't have a civil war because the sides are not divided by, like they were in our original Civil War, North versus South. There's no demarcation line like that. They're spread out throughout the country. But that's because we're looking at this conflict the way Americans look at it, because that's the way our Civil War was. But in the history of the world, most civil wars are more like the one in Northern Ireland, where you had people living right next door to each other that were on opposite sides of the Civil War.
Exactly. And also what makes it even worse is the media is on their side. And so everything is filtered through their lens, their biased lens. And also what's important to note is the Democratic Party has become so far left-sided. Like classic liberalism has gone out the window. It's now socialism,
Marxism.
communist. It's so far left now that instead of like being closer to the middle, it's on the opposite extreme.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you say that the media's on their side. I would ratchet that up a little bit. My view is that the Democratic Party the American godless left, and the media are all one side. And this thing has just proven it. If you've seen the absolutely reprehensible, disgraceful coverage of this by the so-called mainstream media,
Right.
it's like you're watching it and then you see the reporting of it and you think, well, that's not what I saw.
Yeah.
You know, I must have seen a different hearing.
It's definitely biased, and you have people who didn't watch the hearings but watch the media, and so yeah, of course they're gonna,
Right. Right.
Side with it, then, yeah.
But the Democratic Party now has revealed that it is now the official sanctuary city for every form of depravity and moral bankruptcy and degeneracy in America. That's where you go. If you're a moral degenerate, if you're depraved, if you're morally bankrupt, the Democratic Party has got the welcome mat out for you. That's what they've become. And you know,
Unfortunately.
it's sad because a lot of us grew up in times when there were good Democrats out there, good, wholesome, Christian people that were Democrats. My mother worked for Adlai Stevenson against Eisenhower back in the 50s. And our family was not this kind of moral degenerates like you see nowadays dominating the Democratic Party.
That's why you have the walkaway movement, and a lot of people are leaving the Democratic Party, especially when watching this online. You know, people can comment in real time, and a lot of people are saying, hey, I've been Democrat my whole life. In the past, I've only voted Democrat, but after watching the way these Democrats have acted during this
Behaved, yep.
hearing, I'm going to leave. I'm not going to vote for them again.
The problem that we've got is, on the other side of the ledger, the Republicans, the other thing these hearings proved is that there's no fight in the Republicans. They are a bunch of weenies.
There were like two senators that,
Yeah.
Republican senators, Cruz and Lindsey Graham. They were the only ones that really said how it was.
They left.
Out of 11 that were in that room, in that courtroom, they did not speak out.
That's right. They let Brett Kavanaugh sit up there and twist in the wind.
That's right.
Yeah.
By himself. He was there defending himself against this pack of hyenas
Right.
in the Democratic Party. The Republican, you know, we have a saying here in Texas that it's not the size of the dog that matters is in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog.
Right.
Right? There's no fight in the Republican Party dog.
Well, and the November's coming up to vote, and you know, I suggest everybody get out and vote
Yeah,
Republican.
you have to.
Or
Well,
it's
you know, the thing that we have to push is that they'll have to remind people is the issue is not party.
it's not party.
No,
it's
The issue is
single
vote pro-life.
vote pro. Yeah.
And when these people don't support your values,
All right.
don't vote for them. I
That's
don't care
right.
who they are. But we've got to understand something. And I hope this point was made, and we're coming up on being out of time here. I hope this point was made in these hearings. The issue was abortion. Everybody made that crystal clear, and even the Democrats finally came forward and admitted. Many of them said, yes, this is about abortion.
Yes.
What's happening with Kavanaugh is about abortion. Now, if these guys wouldn't fight, which they wouldn't, they left Kavanaugh out there to twist in
They
the
were
wind.
too nice. They didn't call out like inconsistencies in Ford's statements.
They didn't do anything.
No, they just sat there like.
I want you
bouncing
to
along.
imagine, and you saw how nasty this thing got because of the way the Democrats behaved. I want you to imagine now that there was actually a bill in Congress or something headed toward the Supreme Court that would stop abortion. You ratchet up what you saw in these hearings by 10,000.
That's right.
And there could be armed conflict over that.
Yeah.
So the question is, the problem here is, we've seen that the Democrats will fight tooth and nail. They're vicious, they're nasty,
They're willing to do anything.
they'll
and
lie
everything.
through their teeth. When I sit up there and I see a guy like Blumenthal I think he's from Connecticut or somewhere, saying that Kavanaugh is not being honest. And this is a man who, when he was running for the Senate, claimed to be a Vietnam War veteran. And he was lying through his teeth. He was never in Vietnam. My recollection is he was never even in the military. He may have been, but I think he was not. But he was never in combat. He was never in Vietnam. And he's sitting up there going to lecture a man like Kavanaugh about honesty. And the Republicans all know this. And they're sitting on their hands and not doing anything.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting if we could go back and to everybody that is sitting that is in Congress, go back to when they were 15 years old and let's see how many people are left standing.
Let's see how many could take this kind of scrutiny.
That's right, not many.
And it's just not many is not any is the answer.
I tell you, if I was a Republican senator up there, I would be.
Well, they would have had to haul me out of the room.
Yeah,
they'd had to call Capitol Hill
But
police
I would have
or
been
something.
standing up, calling them out on their stuff, and just the
What
Republicans
Lindsey
were
Graham
too
did
nice.
would have been minor compared to what I would have said to these people. And Senator Spartacus up there and all these people. Anyway, but we need, not only do we need people in Congress that have good moral values, but we need people up there that will fight for those moral
Actually
values.
fight and
that's
stand
not
up.
what we have. Anyway, let's take a time out here for our weekly segment called RoeBots, and then we'll be right back.
In 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court legalized abortion nationwide. The decision is called Roe v. Wade, and those who defend it are known as RoeBots. This is how they think.
As a Christian, I know that abortion is wrong, but I do not feel like the Lord is calling me to take a stand against it.
To appreciate the sheer dishonesty of this statement, imagine that a group of men is standing around their church on a Sunday morning when they look out a window and see a screaming young girl being gang raped and murdered in a field next door. When the police arrive, they ask these men what they did when they saw what was happening. They replied, "Well, we gathered together and prayed for her, and we prayed for her attackers to have a change of heart. But we're all Christians here, and we just didn't feel like the Lord was calling on us to get involved." Now, no one would be stupid enough to buy that drivel. Everyone would know that these guys didn't get involved because this girl's life was just not that important to them. It was safe and comfortable inside the church, and defending her would have exposed them to risks they were not willing to take. In short, she just wasn't worth it. Now, that is a perfect analogy to how most Christians, including most church leaders, address the abortion holocaust. We can sugarcoat it all we want to, but in the end, it always comes down to the fact that they look the other way out of cowardice and self-interest. The bottom line is, when innocent and helpless babies are being butchered by the millions, it is outrageous to suggest that God is not calling each of us to stand up against it. Be assured, the problem is not that God failed to call the church to action. The problem is that the church chose to ignore him. And that's the reason abortion remains legal today. We are back. And we're out of time because we're going to, like I said, shorten this show up. You got one little thing. Get to it quick.
Surprise, Governor Jerry Brown of California vetoed the bill that would have made public universities in California provide abortion pills.
Yeah, he did it for political reasons. And
No means is he pro-life.
No one should
Well, no,
translate that to mean
well,
he's
no,
pro-life.
I'm not saying he's pro-life. I'm
I
just
know.
saying that that's good news,
you know.
though. So.
You got anything there,
Yeah,
Renee?
if you have any questions or comments or show ideas, let us know. You can get to us by phone or email or private message on Facebook, however you'd like to do it. Share our Facebook Live show, get the word out. And if you do, you'll get one of these mugs.
If we use your
If we
subject,
use your idea, the show idea. So,
we'll get one of
anyways,
those mugs to you. That's it. Anything else?
that's it.
All right. Y'all lurk till next
Oh, yeah, I'm
Next
just going to
week.
be sitting
We're
here.
gonna we're gonna stay here.
Yeah.
lurking
lurking.
like a couple of alligators or crocodiles.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it. Until next time, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win because winning is how the killing stops. We will see you next Tuesday.